Welcome, everyone. Today I have Catheryne with me for another delightful conversation. We've already been chatting in the background, and we're super excited to talk about this book that she wrote that inspired me so much, that resonated with me so much. Abundant Beingness. Is that actually the Garden of Abundant Beingness?
I know. I broke all of the rules on naming it that long. Yes.
I love it. So why don't you just jump right in here, Catherine, and the Garden of Abundant Beingness. I love it. I love long titles. I have lots of long titles for a lot of my files on my laptop. So that also resonated with me.
Yeah.
But do you want to give just a short little backstory of the Garden of Abundant Beingness?
Yeah. Well, originally it was going to be even longer. It was going to be the tree of giving and receiving in the garden of abundant beingness. And
Hmm.
um, it's a book about life, it's a book about money and how nature truly reset my way of being with resources.
Hmm.
And giving has been something that has been a part of my life. I grew up in a family that prioritized giving. I grew up in a family that had extra and privilege. And so it was a big focus of my younger years. And then as I grew older, I shifted out of some of the paradigms that I was born into with a lot of rules around how to give. And
Hmm.
so was back at ground zero of like, okay, what does it look like to live generously? And I cycled through entrepreneurship, corporate life, organized philanthropy, societal giving norms, and all of that just felt like it had its place in some cases, but it wasn't. It wasn't like the true heartbeat of abundance. Um, okay, there we go. And so this book chronicles my journey of a very natural, organic process of nature resetting my relationship with money and service. And what does it look like to participate in something greater than ourselves? And I talk about the tree of giving and receiving because for me, this tree has started working on me probably for the past 8 or 9 years. And it just like started dropping into my field of what does it look like to live fully rooted, embodied, and anchored in this reality. And what does it look like to receive from life all that we need, to make us grow healthy and strong? And then what does it look like to naturally, in our own season, produce fruit, share it as the natural overflow of our being, see it resource the garden around us, and then that toroidal field of abundance flowing in and out, growing in strength and in power and potency. And for me, there have been several key stages of releasing excess, of feeling that impulse of love quite literally move through me, change me. And it's almost like this effervescent upwelling of love and a desire to share rather than like a top down mandate of I have extra, I need to share it. And so, yeah, this book chronicles my journey of softening to that impulse, of learning to recognize it, of learning to honor it, um, of learning when to create more boundaries, of learning when to, yeah, just open myself up to the breath, like the breath of life, that divine cadence of inhaling and exhaling, and trusting that as I release what no longer is needed, I will be resourced by life itself when the time is right with exactly what is needed. And so it's coming into greater coherence. It's coming into greater alignment with the garden of life as a whole. And this is such a joyful process of thinking deeper into our true nature. And yeah, as I said, being a part of something greater than just our own myopic, egoic scramble for success um, and accumulation because it's not serving us. Like it just, I've had the opportunity to work with billionaires and to rub shoulders with really successful people who have so much, and yet that there's sometimes never enough. And um, I think that's one of the greatest myths, that there's not enough. There's so much abundance on this planet. It just needs to be revitalized and recirculated. And like the stream that is blocked, like water stagnates, resources stagnate. And so what is it? What is my role? What is our role to do in allowing the current of love and resource to flow freely? Because this truly is an ecstatic and joy-filled and abundant experience. Because once we release what's ours to truly release, then we're open for receiving more of what's actually aligned for us. And newness can come in, and greater potentiality can come in than we ever expected or could imagine.
Wow, I love that. That was a really great flow.
Thanks.
Man, that just poured out of you. Honestly, I love it.
Well, thank
So
you.
much of that resonates with me. Yeah, and this I like the shift that you're making, like of like all the rules that come, okay, if we're gonna give this, but um and when you're more aligned with the person or the whatever you're giving that to, then I think there's less of those buts in there. It's just much more um, win-win. And I think that's the important part of it. When I gifted a friend of mine and helped her with her book publication, I was really like that. I was like, okay, like I gave my little tips of what I thought, would be good to be different about it. But in the end, like I sort of released everything. But at the same time, I wish there was a deeper connection there. Like had I known what I know today, like and brought that into it. So all of this experience that you have is so key to understand. It's what gets you to understand more clearly what you want, what resonates with you, because you tried all of this. You had not tried, but you've gone through all these different experiences in your already already in your young life. That's already a lot of different experiences in a short amount of time.
Yeah. And some of it's been painful. And exercise, like you said, you wish that there was deeper connection. I think
Mm.
that we're playing in new territory. We are pioneering, and um, a lot of grace and holding it lightly is needed, because sometimes we overgive or sometimes we don't give enough. And um, creating, yeah, the space and understanding that we're playing.
Mm.
Like, this is play, and it's not about getting it perfect. And one thing that I do think is a helpful exercise that I put in at the end of my book is to create a treaty of trust, especially if we're bringing large creations into the world. And something that maybe we go into in a little bit is like the dynamic of natural flow investing. So seeing giving as an investment tool without strings attached, without um, a guaranteed return other than opening to what life is asking from you and sharing overflow. But something that could be really, really helpful as we do that is to create a treaty of trust where you're creating a contract with someone. It's a freely given contract, but it's one that says, okay, I feel I feel inspired to share this overflow with you. This is like, I would love to receive a biannual update about it. I trust you to be responsible for the resources that you've been given. I trust you to ask for help when you need it. I trust you to trust me if I come to you and see an issue that you know that it's coming from a place of love. Like, without creating debt structures, there still may be space for going through the exercise of naming where you're coming from, what's expected, what's being exchanged. And it could highlight, like, if there's any expectations or codependence or um, things that need light. Because when, like, we're playing with money, it's playing with fire. It's like playing with sex. It's
Yeah.
gonna it's going to be intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I joke about, in my book, I joke about, like, who needs to go fast for a week in the desert? Just, like, start being honest with your money and start telling the truth about it and start giving in alignment. And it's going to get hot. And especially
Mm-hmm.
in partnerships or in communal dynamics, it it brings shit up, no question about it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah,
And
and
that
I think the boundaries are important, but also like having the good relationship with the person is sort of the foundation of the whole thing. And feeling comfortable, feeling comfortable so that like when you were saying, a biannual, like sort of an update on what's going on if you need help, like to reach out if you need help, and to feel like to have it comfortable enough, the relationship comfortable enough that people feel comfortable to come to you and ask for help when they need help, because it's interesting when you need help
Mm-hmm.
that you feel like, oh, if I go to them, that like what are they going to understand me? Are they going to listen to like what's going on? Like that vulnerability that's required of the person, the courage to come and like, ask for that, and to feel like it's going to be met with love, with kindness, with like compassion, so that you can actually open up and share what's going on and not feel like you can't tell someone something because of the reaction you're afraid of getting. It's so crazy.
It's so crazy, and I love that you brought that up because um, I think that the portal of possibility is opened through that doorway of vulnerability. And I've seen it over and over again. And it's what actually, we talked about this last week when we were chatting, but it's what helped me open up to giving in these larger increments when one of my mentors, like after we had worked together, opened up to me and shared about her really difficult financial situation, not asking for anything, just like it was pure vulnerability, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
struggling. And then that opened my heart to, well, first, then it was like, okay, this woman needs a parenthesis of a sabbatical like space without client work. And then we were looking for investors. And then it was like, oh, life was tapping me on the shoulder. I'm to be the investor. And then we started talking about, okay, low interest loans or an equity in her offerings. And it all just felt so off and stale. And then I was like, no, I'm here to give her a freely given, no strings attached, gift based investment.
Mm-hmm.
And then this like opened up so much for her. It completely radicalized her life trajectory. It completely changed my life trajectory. It brought so much um, intimacy and connection between the both of us. And it was such a joyful, organic experience that only came about because of her vulnerability and both of us being open to the natural unfolding. And so, we're so conditioned to not only keep like our dreams to ourselves and not burden other people, but like there's that underlying expectation, or some people feel that underlying assumption that if you share, like you're asking for something, when instead, like, can we just share because life is asking us to share, and then possibility comes in an emergent way that we can never anticipate, and that's that infinite creativity coming in and creating new pathways, and it only comes through being vulnerable and being present to what's there in front of us.
Yeah. And in a way, it's like a matchmaker. Like, I think of it like matchmaking. Like, there's these people that have really cool ideas, but they don't have the financial means to pull it off. And then so there's like the idea people, and then there's like the investor people who have the overflow of abundance. And they're like, okay, they don't just want to it a, give it away. They want it to go towards something meaningful that resonates with them. So you can like match people up, different people with different projects. And I feel like that's what's sort of happening in the spaces of the DAO, decentralized autonomous. Do I have that right? The I haven't looked back into this in so long. Like your book brought up a bunch of old stuff that I was thinking of uh, that had been building in the background with these autonomous organizations where that just happens like that. Like investors, they come and they're like, hey, who's doing cool stuff that we can be a part of? Uh, anyway, that's just basically the basics of it. Like to come together and make something happen. And it's like how you're saying it changes so many things. it doesn't just change the ecosystem around us, it changed the ecosystem in our bodies, like how you were affected by the connection with that woman, and you you alter something, and that alter is like your environment. Like when you plant a garden in your front yard, it's like you create a microclimate, and it doesn't just affect you, it affects your whole neighborhood. If you take all
Exactly.
of, yeah, and together these things make a huge impact.
They
Um,
do.
yeah,
Yeah, we're changing our internal environment. We're bringing something into the world, and we're strengthening a morphogenetic field of possibility. Like this is how we're putting a stake in the ground, an anchor of like this is how we want to be with resources, and that has ripple effects that we can't even begin to fathom. Um,
yeah,
so, and like you said, it bring it it's the matchmaking, which we don't even have to try. Like I used to, we talked about the pods that I wanted to create, and there's so many different investment structures, but more and more I feel like it's just really organic. Like life brings us,
magnetic.
yeah, life connects us with those people that we need to, like us. You don't have to
Yeah,
try. You're just there, and it's being willing and available to have that current of life and love moving through you, and that will
yeah,
nourish you. It will nourish the recipient, and there's not all of that heavy, outdated infrastructure that weighs it down and that stifles that flow of abundance and creativity, because there's so, like we talked about at the beginning, there's so many rules on how to give. Okay, tax, I need to have it be tax deductible. I need to, give because the church says this. I need to do it because the government does that. And I'm like, fuck this. just, just like, let's let it be natural. And the more and more we come into congruence with that current, um, the giving and receiving becomes a natural way of being. And it's like, you forget who's given what and how much. And just more and more of our self comes online in a really powerful way that enhances our own being, and it shifts the garden. That's what I'm talking about, like the garden of abundant beingness. It creates ripple effects and um, brings greater collective vitality.
yeah. And this is actually why I incessantly talk about, well, not incessantly, but I often talk about Hollyhock, this retreat center. And I talk about it because that's the one I've been to, so I know. But you, in your book, you write about Esalen.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
you mention it. You don't write about it. You mention it. And that's another place that just fascinates me, like another one of these energetic places in the world that's doing cool stuff. And the more of those kind of places there are around the world, like that's really, that's what happens when we do things like this, like as you say, these like mini versions of that. Like we don't have to have, you can have a Esalen in your run under your home with workshops or whatever you're doing, like that kind of energy field. It doesn't need to be so big. We
Mm,
can have them smaller and more of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Eslen's an interesting place. I, it's a side
Rip
tangent.
off in that direction if you want. Go for
Well,
it.
I just, for me, Esalen is so beautiful. Like you go to the hot springs there, and it's like wow, overlooking the Pacific coast. Um, what's so interesting to me about Esalen was my experience with it. That I felt called to go. I was 30. I was like, I want to go to Esalen for my birthday, and I was immediately drawn to Charles Eisenstein's retreat. I don't know if you're
I'm
familiar with him.
familiar.
He's big in
Yeah.
the sacred economics world. Had never heard of it. His retreat books like a year in advance, but there was a spot at the last minute. I got in,
Magic.
and it was total magic and confirmation of this thing that was already growing in me, because he works on a freely given basis. Like you pay for the cost of your accommodation, and then you're invited into reciprocity of like at the end of the retreat, what's it worth to you? What do you have? Like what is reasonable for you? There were
Hmm.
college students, and then there were wealthy retirees.
Hmm.
So, and that is the key part. One of the key parts I feel in this whole economic love revolution that we're going through is that invitation into reciprocity without guilt, without obligation, but like, okay, what does it look like for you to share from integrity without hurting yourself, but with also sharing what's yours to give. And
Mm-hmm.
because we have to really sit with that. Like, in another instance that I wrote about in that book, I did an exchange with someone, and then we decided to work together in the future, and it felt too low for me. And it was a
Mm.
first for me to be like, listen, I think I need to pay you more because of what I received, what I actually have in my bank account, and what feels in integrity. And that opened up so much of new possibility between us, and it was built on honesty. And so that is like, not everyone's ready for that, but those are the types of conversations that we need to be having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when I ran a guest house for a little while, and like there was a price, in on my website. When people came in, there was like a rate that I had, but I also like listened to people and their circumstances, and I was open to. I had a lot of people stay for free.
Yeah.
But there was
Yeah.
different kinds of exchanges. There was always an exchange that occurred there, and it always felt really. Those were my favorite people, actually, because there was like participation.
Yes.
There was like a different kind of involvement, a different kind of exchange. It wasn't just this paper fiat. It was really like heartfelt um, exchange. And yeah, it was, in the end, it was so much more valuable than whatever monetary rate their stay would have added up to. It didn't even register. Like, it didn't even, the energy of it was so different. It just didn't even feel like that.
Hmm.
It was really different. And
Yeah.
so it's so valuable.
It's so valuable, and it feels really different. So the way that my life continues to grow is one of freely given, both oftentimes receiving and like what I put out there. And I was
Hmm.
traveling recently and was at a yoga studio, and I felt like I needed to leave my current living situation. And I was chatting with a studio owner, and she was like, "Oh, well, we have a house that's empty right now. I'd love to rent it to you by the night." And she gave me a really reasonable price, and it was kind of her to offer, but it just felt so commoditized, and
Mm,
it felt so dissonant from how I usually give and receive these days, that I just didn't want it. Even though I could afford it, even though like it was nice of her, there was no animosity. It just was like, this
right.
feels really heavy to me. Um, because yeah, like, I mean, I don't advocate
The harmony
the
wasn't there.
harmony. It wasn't there, and it was rooted in like a tit for tat rather than a heartfelt
Right.
exchange.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I could have, and we could have had an intimate conversation of like other ways I could participate, or like maybe I felt moved to offer money or something, but it just
Hmm.
felt like an old model.
Right. Yeah. An old model. Hmm. I'm so ready to break a few of these old models.
Yeah.
Before we come to the uh, like this is a half hour. I usually do the half hour
Okay.
live, but I just wanted to read to because this part of your book, I went to the very first thing I highlighted in your book, and this was it. So I thought I would share it with you and anybody else who's interested. Many alternatives rooted in true abundance, are already here. Amazing new innovations and ways of relating, exchanging, and stewarding this earth for the benefit of all are coming forth daily. Now is the time to course correct and return to a more integral way of being that moves with the current of love, as the current of love. Not love, sorry, for love is our true nature. And aligning with that in what is that saying? Indestructible spark of light. So highlighting on this is really bad. For love is our true nature, and aligning with that indestructible spark of life that is deepest within us is the medicine for these times. And that actually struck me so hard. For love is our true nature, and aligning with that indestructible spark of life that is deepest within us is the medicine for our times. That's it. That's it. That was it for me. I was like, okay, close the book. We got it.
But for real, I could just leave off the extra 300 pages. That's it.
Yeah, and that's what it's that's what this harmonious like the garden of abundance is really in us. Like what is it that wants it? What does your flower look like when it's in full bloom? And just connect with that. And if everyone did that, like I wow. Whenever I start to freak out about um my own abundance, like okay, where how is it for the future? I'm always like looking farther ahead from where I am. And I'm like, okay, because I'm not generating revenue now, I'm like, okay, what about in 5 years from now when there isn't enough, when I don't have like this cushion, like what's going to be the abundance that's going to carry me then? I think so many people get caught up into that. They're like stepping in front of themselves,
Mhm.
and it keeps them from rooting down into the now. What is it that you're creating now? What are what is the harmony that is already there? What is the garden already providing you that you we look past like what's already in front of us, not even seeing it. And it's interesting, the water of life really, and it's the abundance within. I'm like,
Mm.
did she know what she was writing here?
No, I didn't come to Shivambu until after. Well, I was writing my book when I came to Shivambu, but a lot of this I didn't know, but it resonated so deeply because I'm
Right.
obsessed with trees, and I'm like, I'm a freaking coconut tree. Like
Yeah.
I
Right.
produce this amazing mineral rich water that is just a natural like a natural offering, and so that part
Right.
hit me hard.
Yeah, me too. And I was like, oh my God, I'm abundant. I'm already abundant. Like the
Exactly.
abundance is already there. And that's what I was trying to say. You don't even see it. You don't even, your awareness isn't there. And then when your awareness is there, it's like, whoa, actually, there's all of this abundance already here that I wasn't even aware of.
Hmm.
Yeah, so
And
crazy.
so that's one angle to look at it, like the abundance that's already there. And then the other is just how fleeting and how temporal other forms of abundance are. Because when I left my home in South Africa with my ex-partner, it was fully like we had the apocalypse down, tons of food, gardens, water systems, generators, um, resourceful community, like to a T, out in the middle of nowhere, like come get me. Um, and then leaving that and then going and moving in with my parents in Alabama, where like none of that is in place. There's no awareness of it. I had to get to the point where I was like, oh, and left most of my resources there. I had to get to the point where I was like, if I need a banana on the street, someone will give me one. Like I trust life that
Yeah.
much, and
Yeah.
I've had so much more than that. But like new things have come in amazing ways. But that like life, it is a dance and it is vulnerable and intimate and a little
Hmm.
scary.
Yeah. And I resonate with that experience too. That's sort of what happened with Olivia and I in Lao. We had this budding idea and all of this stuff there to make it happen. But yeah, we ended up leaving and moving on from there. And actually, another good friend of mine helped me to like re-gift it. Like it was like a gift to me, and then it was like re-gifted to the community, and wherever that was needed, I just trusted it was going to get in the right hands. So we didn't have a garage sale or sell anything. We actually, pretty much gifted everything. And it was the connection of the woman that helped me to give it away, actually. Like, I don't even know where it all went to. My connection was actually just through this woman who helped make that happen. And that friendship just is so strong now. And it was such a beautiful experience that the two of us shared, or the three of us really share, that it's just forever etched in my heart. It's just,
Priceless. It's
yeah,
completely priceless.
yeah, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Catherine. And if anybody, whoops, wants to get a hold of Catherine, she is at abundantbeingness.com. And if anybody wants to come on and have a chit chat with me or others in the community, motherspirit.creum.net, you can find all of our socials and everything there. So thank you. Any closing words, Catherine?
Mm.
Not to put you on the spot or
I'm
anything,
just,
but I just did.
I'm just, I'm coming, I'm seeing if there's anything from my heart. I just, there's just so much goodness ahead, even in the midst of this really intense rebirthing transmutation process. And I really believe that life is is supporting us and wants to support us in amazingly rich and abundant ways that requires releasing what doesn't serve us. And so I just see it as a really hopeful thing and a beautiful thing, even though it's uncomfortable. And I'm passionate about having others experience that truly ecstatic process, which isn't always just bliss. It's like it's both things of embodying our true nature, which is love, which is abundance.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.